This week on Inside the NFL, the winningest coach in NFL history shows his gratitude.
Mitch, we're going to miss Mitch back there, and he went out with a separated shoulder. And the guy with the crutches next to him, Danny Marino, I think Danny won 100 and some of those victories that I'm, got on my record. But Danny, thank you.
And in this week's cover story, Barry Sanders, the league's leading rusher, says his division-leading Lions are no fluke.
We feel like we're legitimate, and we get a chance to prove it the rest of the year.
Also by satellite, Steve Young. With 4 touchdown passes last week, he's in fine form once again.
It feels wonderful. I've never really experienced going into a game less than 80–90%, and when you can't throw spirals or even know whether you're throwing spirals, it's a little bit more difficult. But I feel great that I'm finally back to 100%.
Now, the show the pros watch, Inside the NFL, with your hosts, Len Dawson, Nick Bonaconti, and Chris Collinsworth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. Chris and Nick, there was a record set this past week that I don't believe will ever be broken. Don Shula surpassed George Halas as the winningest coach in the history of professional football. Look at those names: Curly Lambeau, Tom Landry, George Halas, and now at the top, Don Shula, 325 career wins. That is amazing.
And as Nick has told us many a time, the coach could have never done it without that guy right there.
I'll tell you one thing, Collinsworth, he would have run you out of town so fast, you never would have been a Dolphin.
Wait a minute. If he kept you, he would keep Chris or me or anybody else. I know about Don Shula and how competitive he is. I want to know about Don Shula, the man.
Well, Lenny, his great asset is he treated everybody as an individual, whether he had long hair and a beard like Jim Kick did then, or wore an earring like Marv Fleming, or dressed flamboyantly. All he cared about is whether or not you could play football and that you never bring discredit to the Miami Dolphins.
But as many wins as Don Shula had, his family always came first. Even this past week when he was getting ready for win number 325, I had a chance to interview him the night before. I had all these questions. I want to know about the record and what was happening with him. And all he wanted to talk about was his son David and what was going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. Football was always important, but not as important as his family.
Don Shula has always been a class act. You were his defensive co-captain for 8 years. You know the man. How did the players feel about Don Shula?
Tremendous respect for Shula. Like, we went into Super Bowl 7. Shula had lost to the Jets in the Super Bowl, and the year before we lost to the Dallas Cowboys. The guys really committed themselves. We wanted to get Super Bowl 7, not only for ourselves, but we wanted to get it for the coach. Boy, when that gun sounded and we were on top, everybody was just happy that Don had his first Super Bowl.
You believe that, Chris?
No, I think he wanted the ring and the cash like everybody. I know this guy.
How about that picture you saw him back there? A young Nick Bonaconti with a long
21 years
side.
ago.
Yes, he looked like he was checking the underarm deodorant for his coach, Don Shula. Great man. All right. Number 325 didn't come easily for Don Shula. For the second time this season, his starter at quarterback position went down. But again, with Shula diligently working the sidelines, the Dolphins prevailed.
Miami Dolphins!
31 years as an NFL head coach makes for a lot of changes, yet one thing has never changed. Don Shula has always won football games. And last Sunday in Philadelphia, Miami's Mentor was just one victory shy of becoming the NFL's winningest coach ever. Yet this final ascent to this historic achievement would have its ups and downs as the Dolphins found themselves locked in a desperate and sometimes nasty battle with the Eagles. The Dolphins' defense led the way with 4 sacks. Its offense was guided by the steadying influence of a legend.
Now we got to be patient. Take what we get.
Patience soon produced a flurry of big plays.
Double tight, Fryer. Keen arrow Q flanker out. Double. Deep downfield for Ingram, who has it in full stride down the near sideline.
Ingram's explosion led to 1 touchdown, and Scott Mitchell passed for another to rookie Terry Kirby, number 43. Yet instead of being well on his way to his landmark victory, Shula saw the pesky Eagles keep pace.
To throw in the end zone wide open. O'Brien looking. Touchdown by Calvin.
As the second half began, the Dolphins were trailing the Eagles 14-13.
Watch the onside kick to start with. No penalties on the kickoff. Coming out or staying in with the football. Then we need a drive on offense. We need a drive. We got to put it together. We got to start running with the ball, pass protecting, making plays. Defense shut out in the second half.
Shula got his wish on defense, but on offense he would have to deal with adversity once again. With Dan Marino already lost to injury, Scott Mitchell injured his throwing shoulder in the third quarter. The best the Dolphins could manage were a pair of field goals that gave them the lead late in the fourth quarter.
Stoyanovich hits it. It's up there. It is good. So Stoyanovich gives the Dolphins a 5-point lead. 19-14. Miami with 3:36 to go.
He had to fend off one final furious Philadelphia rally.
He lets it fly. It's dropped at the 5-yard line.
But when the Eagles self-destructed in the end, Don Shula ascended to the top with a record that will be the standard of measurement in pro football. Perhaps.
Happened to a nicer guy. Coach Shula being mobbed as he becomes the all-time winningest coach in the history of the National.
What a gut check that was. That was unbelievable the way you hung in there. When Mitch goes down, everybody keeps their confidence. Defense, we knew we had to shut them out in the second half. We got it done in the second half. But through the years, I'm just going to think about it for one quick second. And then this is the last you guys are going to hear about 324, 325, whatever. I want it to be Super Bowl, and I want it to be in a Super Bowl year. At the end of the year, I want this record to be in a year that the team won the Super Bowl. Mitch, we're going to miss Mitch back there, and he went out with a separated shoulder. And the guy with the crutches next to him, Danny Marino, I think Danny won 100 and some of those victories that I'm, got on my record. But Danny, thank you. It's one I'll never forget. And let's enjoy this, and then New England next, baby. We're going to get that. Congratulations. You got to make dinner for all of us now. We're going to do that. Go. Good, Danny. Good. Thank you. You're a big part of all that, baby. I love it.
Gut check, baby. Gut check. You mean a lot to us. We got all the victories we need now. Get this off our back. It was getting heavy for a while, but this is from every player on the team, and this is going to be a bronze sculpture with this, the last ball of the field, being on top.
Thank you, John.
As a new star in the Lone Star State, as a $1 million insurance policy took his diminishing skills to Dallas for one shot at the Super Bowl. Thanks to the unkindest cut of all, courtesy of Bill Belichick and the Browns, Bernie Kosar made his Dallas debut a memorable one. Despite only 3 days' practice, Kosar, a notoriously fast learner, quickly discovered having Emmitt Smith in your backfield elevates the talent of everyone on the team. At his ungainly best, Kosar helped the Cowboys to a 17-0 halftime lead. The Cards refused to fold.
Chandler back to throw again, looking to his right, throws the ball down the middle. It's caught at the goal line and into the end zone for the touchdown for the Phoenix Cardinals is Larry Centers.
And is Larry Centers making plays today, Tom, or what? He just snuck right out of the back.
Phoenix closed to within 5, aided by Bernie's misplay in the end zone.
Kosar off the intentional grounding, and so we're going to get a safety out of this.
We got a new ball game here.
1 minute and 2 seconds left to play in the game. You can hear the crowd. Nobody's gone home here yet. Chandler looks down the middle and throws. It's intercepted.
Kenny Gant's interception sealed the Cowboys' 7th straight win, the first under their high-priced backup, who should start Sunday against the Falcons. The man with the unenviable task of filling Bernie's boots is Todd Philcox.
As the Browns enter the post-Bernie Kosar era, Todd Philcox about to take his first snap of the season, drops back to pass, under pressure, steps up, loses the football, loses Cox to debut in '93.
On Seattle's first possession, the Browns' defense contributed a safety that would prove to be the only time Cleveland reached the end zone all afternoon. That was due to a swarming Seahawk defensive unit that smothered Eric Metcalf and cashed in 7 turnovers on the day. It was not Bill Belichick's finest hour. Browns have seen the future without Bernie, and with Houston up next, the last of first place for quite a while. No, it's not the return of Fan Man, for this shootist hit his mark, but the most accuracy airborne came from Steve Young. This eminently forgivable drop was the only ball Jerry Rice missed all day.
Back across the middle, caught, touchdown 49ers, Rice had...
Number 80 beat man-to-man coverage for 172 yards and a quartet of touchdowns to remind everyone, lest they forgot, why he's considered by many to be the greatest receiver to play the game. It's a sight the Saints hope they won't see Monday when the two teams meet for undisputed possession of first place. Coming up, the Pack's surprising victory over the Saints, and this week's cover story, the still elusive, still quiet Barry Sanders.
With his 4 touchdown receptions last Sunday, Jerry Rice added to his NFL record 112 TD catches. 40 of those came from the arm of Steve Young, who's after his own league record. Young is trying to become the first quarterback to lead the NFL in passing 3 straight years. He's with Nick Bonacani.
Thanks, Lenny. After what you went through earlier in the year, Steve, how does it feel just to be healthy again?
It feels wonderful. I've never really experienced going into a game less than, 80, 90%. And when you can't throw spirals or even know whether you're throwing spirals, it's a little bit more difficult. But I feel great that I'm finally back to 100%.
Well, earlier this season, Ricky Watters and Jerry Rice were complaining that they weren't getting the ball enough. And, of course, the offense sputtered. The last 3 ball games, wow, 38 points a game. What's changed? Is it your health?
No, I think the biggest thing is that we're not turning the ball over in fumbles and interceptions. When we don't do that, we've got it's funny, in our 3 losses, we averaged 380 yards in a game, but we turned the ball over. So really the offense was not sputtering in the sense of moving it, but we were sputtering and turning it over. So if we don't turn it over, we're going to have a great chance to win.
Well, was there a change in strategy, though, regarding Ricky Watters? Now, are you giving him the ball more?
Well, we're in a 2-back set a lot more in the last couple of games, Nick, and I think it's our base set, something we feel very comfortable about, and obviously Ricky likes to line up in that set and carry the ball from the 2-backs.
Well, last week the Bucs were really foolish enough to try to play man-to-man coverage on Rice, 4 touchdown passes to Jerry. This week you play the Saints. Now, how have they covered Rice in the past?
Well, they'll actually cloud his side, and what we call clouding, which is a guy bumping him and a guy behind him. They've changed up different coverages a lot. We've played each other a lot. We've seen different things, but rarely will you see one-on-one with the safety out of the middle, which Jerry can go to the post. You won't see that against the Saints very much.
Well, we know one team that really knows how to defend the 49ers, and that's the Cowboys. Now, as you look at them, what do they do to you that other teams don't?
Well, I think anytime you can bring only 4 guys and put a pass rush on us, it makes it tough. And I think that's the one real improvement we've made, too, not only in turnovers, and all of us improving and getting more communication, but the offensive line is communicating much better. And I think if we can protect when they only bring 4 or 5 guys, then obviously we're going to be able to move the ball. And the Cowboys, in the first game, were able to kind of bring the pressure with only 4 guys.
How about Turnbull and Ricky Jackson? Now, they're going to be coming after you, and hopefully you're not going to be running for your life. Great defense, aren't they?
Awesome defense, and I think they're great when they come off the corners. Well, they've got to come to grass and play on the long grass in our field, but they've got the best coach defense, one of the best defenses in the league, but we've got 2 all-pro tackles that, are going to be ready for the challenge.
Well, thanks, Steve. Good luck on Monday night for you.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, back to you, Lenny.
Thanks, Nick. Steve Young is smiling. He is healthy. So is Tom Rathman. He is scheduled to start at fullback this week. The Saints are going to have a tough job trying to defend these guys.
And the thing that makes the 49ers so tough to defense is if you want to rush 5 like the New Orleans Saints usually do, that leaves only 6 people in the secondary to cover 2 of the best wide receivers in all of football. And of the 5 rushers, you have to leave somebody as a spy, or Steve Young's going to kill you running the football.
I'll tell you how to get to Steve Young or any other quarterback. Get that pressure right up in his face where he can't see everything that's going on downfield. That's easier said than done, though. Ahead for Young and the 49ers is a Saints team which dropped one at home last week in the last minute. However, the Giants, with steady work by linebacker Michael Brooks and others, weren't challenged, nor were the revived Falcons.
For most of 1993, the Falcons have traveled down the road of discontent. But in L.A., they found instant satisfaction. Bobby Hebert and Andre Rison combined for the game's lone touchdown. The Rams were shut out for the first time in 6 years, but hope to get back on track against the Redskins this Sunday. The Giants' Michael Brooks found gigantic gaps in Washington's offensive line and shot through them to single-handedly shut down the Redskins' running game. Offensively, the Giants were also going nowhere, but a trick play headed New York in the right direction. The Giants led 17-0, and the defense knew Washington would have to pass to get back in the game.
We're gonna be in the bind. We're gonna be in the bind.
The pressure to win sometimes brings about one-on-one battles.
I bet your sorrows him hit me in the back. You don't get no respect. Who got the bill? Get no respect. Ain't no player. Punish his ass. So I hit his ass back. You know, he got me for a blow to the head. Hell yeah. Tom had to watch my back. If hit me in my back, you don't make it home tonight.
The Redskins were on the losing side for the 7th time this season. The loss has Washington off to its worst start in 30 years.
I don't see him. Think he gone in.
The Giants will be looking for Philadelphia this Sunday. With 3 road games coming up, the Saints were looking for a much-needed win against the Packers, and it appeared a victory could be counted on when Wade Wilson hit Quinn Early and rookie Marcus Dowdell with scoring strikes. 17-16 with less than a minute to play, but you know the Saints, they're like kids. Never leave them alone with anything sharp. Brett Favre found Sterling Sharp all alone for a 54-yard catch, setting up the game-winning field goal.
The ball is down, a little low snap. The kick on the way. The kick in. Good! 3 seconds to go. Oh.
Men, the Saints are probably kicking themselves for losing that ball game. They really blew it against the Green Bay Packers, and that's their 3rd loss in the last 4 ball games. It's not going to get any easier this week. They travel to San Francisco, taking on the red-hot 49ers. Both are 6-3, Nick, but going in opposite directions.
Well, that loss to the Packers was absolutely devastating for the Saints. This team has to regroup, and more important, they better rediscover their offense. In the first 5 ball games, Wade Wilson only threw 1 interception, but in the last 4 games, he has thrown 8 interceptions. Now, this offense does move up and down the field, no problem there, but the one trouble that they do have is putting points on the board. In the first 5 ball games, they averaged 27 points a game, and the last 4, where they've lost 3 games, only 16 points. That's just not enough.
Well, there's no problems with San Francisco's offense. Those guys have been red hot. Steve Young, after suffering with that thumb injury early on, has regained his touch, hasn't thrown an interception in the past 4 games. Their running game is the most efficient in the National Football League. I haven't even mentioned Jerry Rice. I say look out, New Orleans Saints, now. And maybe more importantly, look out, Cowboys in January.
Let's not give up on the New Orleans Saints. After all, they've won an awful lot of games in the last few years. They do it primarily with defense. They can put some heat on the quarterback. They have 35 quarterback sacks. That's the most in the National Football League. My question, can they sack Young 6 times like they did the last time they played?
No, I like the San Francisco 49ers in this ball game. Their defense has gotten much better as well. John Johnson at that outside linebacker position, filling in for Tim Harris, who left via free agency this past offseason, doing an outstanding job. I think the 49ers on a roll. I like them.
I said last week that the Saints really have to eliminate the turnovers. What they do, 3 against Green Bay, that helped them down to defeat. Whether they turn it over or not, I think San Francisco's too strong. I like the 49ers.
Well, the Saints linebackers, Turnbull and Jackson, they're going to be on a search and destroy mission, but Young is going to detonate that Saints defense, and guess what? They're going to pay for those indiscretions.
Ooh, they'll pay for that, all right. All right. As the Saints and 49ers get ready to decide the issue of first in the AFC West, over in the Central Division, the Lions have built a comfortable 2-game lead. Once again, Barry Sanders is having a glorious season. More on Motown's main man from Brian Burwell in this week's cover story.
There's nobody, I think, that has played the game with the stop-and-go acceleration that Barry has. I mean, he makes people look foolish.
He can be running to the left and cut back to the right and back to the left and up the middle.
You just do whatever you can to make people miss. You know, whether it's jumping side to side or doing a spin or trying to outrun somebody.
I watched Barry Sanders for 4 years when I lived here in Detroit as a sports columnist, and I can assure you there is nobody like him in the league. On game days, he's the best pure runner in football. The rest of the time, well, he's becoming the Greta Garbo of the NFL. Like the reclusive movie star, Barry Sanders hardly craves notoriety. He turns down invitations to appear on David Letterman as readily as he rejects opportunities to set rushing records. Like 2 weeks ago when Sanders could have easily gained 200 yards.
I asked him, I said, B, if you go back in the game, I'll go back in the game so you get your 200. He was like, no, man, it ain't even worth it.
Sanders' style is reminiscent of such Hall of Famers as Gale Sayers and O.J. Simpson.
I spent many hours watching O.J., you know, as a kid. I mean, you couldn't pry me from the television when he was playing. The things that, you know, I heard about the Kansas Comet or even seen in the footage was just, you know, he was amazing.
When you talk about running backs in the National Football League, you think of 3 people. That's Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas and Emmitt Smith. And they're all three outstanding football players, but I think Barry Sanders is probably the most exciting of the three. He does a lot of things on the field just to try to make 1 yard.
You know, to hear guys like that give you high marks, it means a whole lot.
Sometimes he turns down wide open holes and makes, where it's a sure 5-yard gain, and he'll go somewhere else and make 15.
The one thing I say he has great vision. And what he does is set your blocks up so good. He sets them up so well to all you have to do is really run on a straight line, and he's going to draw the defender towards you.
I would love to see Barry Sanders with Dallas. I'd love to see him with Buffalo, because I think those people, those teams, they got more to offer than the Detroit Lions in their offense. And I think that Barry Sanders would, set records beyond belief.
Detroit revamped its offensive line during the offseason to try and match the Buffaloes and Dallases. And after a shaky start, the Lions have rebounded from last year's 5-11 disaster.
We started to struggle a little bit offensively in the beginning because you're bringing in 3 or 4 new guys who haven't played together, and anybody who knows anything about football understands that the offensive line takes time to gel.
When we go out in the field, we expect to win. I think that's the type of confidence we have going right now. And anytime a team has that going for them, it's hard to beat them.
We're utilizing our personnel. We do have some quick linebackers. They're getting to play. We only carry 5 defensive linemen, and they all play. Our secondary's been banged up, but they've been playing very well.
We feel like we're legitimate, and, we get a chance to prove it the rest of the year.
Much has been made recently of a threat by Sanders' agent to have Barry sit out in protest over his contract. It's a scenario many of his teammates cannot fathom.
I can't see Barry walking out. He's got 46 guys that bust their rear ends every week. And you're going to tell me that he's going to walk out on 46 guys and turn his back on guys that put it on a line for him and each other every week? If he does that, that's a traitor.
So far, Sanders is still with the team. For this story, he declined to discuss contract negotiations. Why? That would require him to talk about how good he is. And that's just not his style.
As of the taping of this show, which is Thursday, Barry Sanders was still working out with his team, but undoubtedly this is a major distraction as they get ready to take on the Green Bay Packers in a divisional game. And I'll tell you this, Chris, they need Barry Sanders because he leads the National Football League in total yards from line of scrimmage. But we all know about Barry Sanders. They're 7-2. What's the difference between this year and a year ago?
Defense. When Hank Bullock took over as the defensive coordinator this year, he took a very passive read and react type of defense and made them start attacking. And it seemed to be a perfect fit for linebacker Chris Spielman, defensive lineman Robert Porcher, but it did put a lot of pressure on that defensive secondary. They have responded, especially at the cornerback position. Ray Crockett has had just an outstanding year there.
Defense, defense, defense. Chris, if the Packers are going to have any chance against the Lions, then they're going to have a great game from a little-known outside linebacker by the name of Bryce Popp. Now, who is Bryce Popp? I'll tell you who he is. He's a guy who has 8.5 sacks, and not only that, is equally important because of his play that they're not double-teaming Reggie White anymore. Now, they're not double-teaming Reggie. Reggie has 9.5 sacks himself. One problem. Pop has a groin injury, and he may not play, and the Lions may then double-team Reggie White, and that really could be bad for the Packers because they can revert back to their early season form, which was not good. They were losing.
You're talking about offenses and defense. It could get down to the play of the special teams, and both have outstanding special teams. Green Bay and Detroit. Detroit has their kicker, Jason Hanson, 25 field goals already. That's on a record-setting pace. Jackie, right behind him, 14 field goals in a row. So if it gets down to the play of the special teams, it's tough to call because either one can win. Who do you like?
Well, Lenny, they lost their tight end go-to guy in possession, Jackie Harris. I think this makes life more miserable for Brett Favre. I don't think the Pack defense can do it alone. The Lions will feast on the Packers.
I can appreciate that the Lions are 7-2, but I look at their schedule, and only Minnesota, the team that they defeated, has a winning record. Also, Brett Favre did not throw an interception last week. I had a Green Bay.
Well, when Rodney Peete took over as a starting quarterback, this whole team seemed to relax. They've won 4 games in a row since. I think they make it 5 this week. I like the Lions.
Well, you know, one of the reasons that I am picking Green Bay is because they are at home. But home field advantage isn't always decisive. We note that last week, the Bears, Chiefs, Oilers, and Jets all grabbed victories on the road.
The dog days of autumn have descended upon the Indianapolis Colts. Their defense can't seem to get its paws on anyone, and last Sunday this unit was hounded by Boomer Esiason. Esiason enjoyed his 6th sack-free game of the year as he threw for 2 scores to Chris Burkett. Then the Colts' tackling, which was doggone bad, allowed Johnny Johnson to produce a touchdown that was long gone good.
That is Johnson. He's got the first down. Breaks a tackle across the 50, the 45 to 40. He may go all the way. He's at the 20, 15, 10, 5. He scored. He sidestepped both Ambrose and John Baylor and left them standing flat-footed at the 40-yard line, and the Jets have blown this one open.
This Sunday, the Jets seek to make it 4 in a row when they take on the Bengals, a team that might be guilty of assault. Yeah, winless Cincinnati seems to be waging an assault on the NFL record for most losses in a season. Against Houston, the Bengals' alleged offense took it on the lamb once again. Even a super effort by Jeff Query didn't count, as he failed to keep both feet in bounds. Cincinnati defense was victimized by Warren Moon and Haywood Jeffries.
Jeffries, he's got it at the 1-yard line. Touchdown, they say.
Jeffries grabbed 3 of Moon's 4 touchdown passes.
Steps drop, floats it for Jeffries. He's got it. Touchdown. Haywood Jeffries is 3rd in the air.
This week, the Oilers face the Browns, while the Bengals will continue a season that seems more like a life sentence without possibility of parole. It's said that a nice smile can take you a long way in L.A., but last week against the Chiefs, the Raiders weren't relying on cosmetic dentistry, just old-fashioned smash-mouth football.
They give to McCallum up the middle. Huge hole. He's in. Touchdown, Raiders.
Running into the teeth of the Chiefs' defense, the Raiders quickly assumed a 14-point lead.
Hostetler back to throw, has time. Goes over the middle. Touchdown, Raiders. Ethan Horton.
But L.A. clearly had bitten off more than it could chew as Dave Craig led the Chiefs' counterattack. In the process of throwing 3 touchdown passes, Craig raised his career total to 215, 10th on the NFL's career list.
From the 34, first down and 10 yards to go. A lot of time, dropping deep in the pocket to throw. Winds up, there's a long pass. Davis over the shoulder catch.
But while Craig was making history, Marcus Allen was making it personal and making it look easy. Victory keeps them alone atop the AFC West heading into their game against Chicago this Sunday. Last week in San Diego, John Freese was hoping that his Bear counterpart wouldn't continue the trend of quarterbacks enjoying career days against the Chargers. And while Jim Harbaugh didn't exactly earn a place in the Hall of Fame, he did take advantage of the NFL's worst pass defense. Leading by 3 points with just over a minute to play, the Bears finally watched someone else blow a chance for a win.
Out of the hole to John Kidd. Here it is. The place's been made. The kick.
This week, the Chargers face the Raiders in a game which might help sort out the congested AFC West.
This week, the Bears will be at Kansas City. Next week, it's us. Inside the NFL, we'll be on the road in my town next week as we check out the Chiefs. Now, as we check out the newswire, there's bitterness in Baltimore. Recently, the Maryland governor and Baltimore mayor publicly backed one of the 2 groups bidding to bring an NFL franchise to the city. This so angered the head of the other group, Leonard Boogie Weinglass, that he decided to vent his fury with the full-page ad in the Baltimore Sun. "I am outraged," wrote Weinglass, who also noted several times in the letter that he is a local businessman and the head of the other group is not. The other would-be owner is Alfred Lerner, a Cleveland banker and minority owner of the Browns. With more news and views, here's Chris with Gary Myers.
All right, Lenny, thank you very much. Gary, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, money. Troy Aikman hasn't been playing, but he still doesn't have enough of the green stuff. What's happening with his contract?
Well, Chris, there's finally been some progress in his quest to get a new contract. Lee Steinberg, his agent, was in Dallas on Monday. He met for 3 hours with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, and by the end of this week, they were supposed to exchange proposals, trying to get Aikman a new deal. I think the starting point from Aikman's perspective is Steve Young's 5-year, $26.75 million contract,
yes,
which is the biggest in the league right now. And I think the only deadline they're working with is January 2nd. That is the deadline to front-load the contracts so they can lessen the burden on the salary cap next year.
Well, for a guy who's making just a measly $1 million for the rest of this season, Bernie Kosar played pretty well last week.
Yeah, and Jimmy Johnson said 2 of the most amazing things that Kosar did on Sunday, considering he only showed up on Wednesday, was his first completion to Michael Irvin was a play they didn't even have a chance to practice last week, and his touchdown pass to Joey Novacek was not one of the 67 plays that Bernie had on his wristband
So that just shows you how quickly Kosar was able to adapt, and he'll have more to work with this week.
Amazing. Well, my beloved Bengals are back in the news again. This past weekend, Harold Green missed an audible. There was a fumble on the play. Dave Shula benched him immediately, and then Harold Green went after him in the locker room.
Known fact, he is the worst coach in Bengal history as up to this day. We're 0-9. I don't think, Dave, can you help me out a little bit? Well, there we have it. I'm just going by statistics.
Gary, not a good situation in Cincinnati.
No, and Chris, on Monday, Dave Shula met with Harold Green. Shula said they smoothed things over, and the end result really is that Green will be starting on Sunday against the Jets. Publicly, at least, Green has not backed off from anything that he said.
Now, what's going on with the Bengals as far as the potential that they may move to another city?
Well, Mike Brown last week met with Paul Tagliabue to discuss, what the Bengals situation is in Cincinnati. Brown has given the city of Cincinnati a November 30th deadline. He wants some concessions on the lease, about $4 million a year, and at least an indication that there's potential for a new stadium in Cincinnati. November 30th deadline is obvious because that's when the NFL is going to pick its second expansion team, and then Brown could pursue one of those cities that does not get a team, especially Baltimore.
Well, Joe Bugle in Phoenix would like an indication that maybe he's going to have his job after this year. What's happening there? I know he's reached his quota of losses.
That's right. The mandate from Bill Bidwell before the season was no worse than a 9-7 record. Well, Bidwell's got his 7 losses, and to keep his job, he's got to win his last 6 games in the way the Cardinals are playing. That doesn't seem likely, unless Bidwell says these are extenuating circumstances. The Cardinals have had a lot of injuries, and they'll keep Bidwell, but he probably needs to win those last 6 games to stay on.
Well, for the Washington Redskins this year, they've had all kinds of problems, but especially with their quarterback, Mark Rippon. Is his future in doubt with the Redskins?
Well, it appears the Redskins want to start Rich Gannon this week as long as Gannon is healthy, and this could be an indication of things to come. If Rippon doesn't get back in there and play well the second half of the season, he could be an example of a player with a large contract who is a victim of the salary cap next year. He's supposed to make $3 million. The Redskins are way over the cap right now. So if Rippon doesn't get in and justify his contract, he could be a player who's asked to take a pay cut or maybe even let go.
All right, Gary. We'll see you in the pick segment.
Okay, Chris.
Lenny, back to you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Last week, the Bills, who looked to be marching unopposed to another Super Bowl, were clocked by the Steelers. And in Denver, a rarity. John Elway was outgunned and the Broncos were dumped.
Modest, they're not, but then few teams enjoy as much success at home as the Denver Broncos. And against the Vikings last week, they enjoyed something else, a big early lead.
15 for Denver, up 13-3 in the second quarter. Back to throw Elway with a short drop. Fires the ball. It is caught for a touchdown by Vance Johnson on a bullet throw from...
If the Broncos were unaccustomed to front running, they had to be even more surprised to see an opposing quarterback lead a comeback.
Fires, it is caught! Touchdown!
Salisbury outpassed John Elway with 366 yards and 2 scores. But it was Fouad Ravez who decided matters with just under 3 minutes to play.
43 yards, gets up, the kick on the way, and the kick is good.
The Vikings held off a late Bronco rally and held on for an unlikely victory at Mile High. Denver will hope to avoid its second straight home loss this Sunday against the red-hot Steelers, who last week looked to burst into Super Bowl contention amidst the star-spangled splendor of Monday Night Football.
Big showdown in Pittsburgh. See if we can light this place up, make some things happen.
The largest regular season crowd ever at Three Rivers Stadium came to watch their team avenge last year's playoff loss to the Buffalo Bills.
Mistakes we'll make, mistakes we'll overcome. The most important thing is to fly around and have some fun. Here we go. Here we go.
The Steelers set the tone early, driving 81 yards on their first possession.
This is Thompson. Thompson wiggle waggles over the left side into the end zone for the touchdown.
When their leading rusher, Barry Foster, sprained his ankle on their opening series, the Steelers turned to number 34, Leroy Thompson, whose career-high 108 yards rushing opened things up for the methodical, efficient passing of Neil O'Donnell. By converting on 10 third downs, the Steelers held the ball nearly 45 minutes and outgained the Bills by almost 250 yards.
Somebody got him.
The Steelers dominated both sides of the ball as the NFL's #1 defense came down hard on Jim Kelly and the Bills.
Everybody play their gap. Let's take care of responsibility. He's going to run right into you. Hell, he can't jump over, and he can't fly out of there. He got to come through us. As long as everybody's taking care of their position, that's what's got to happen. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. This is far from over.
Hang with you guys. Hey, stick with him. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. Hang in there.
Kelly wasn't given much chance to rally his team as he was knocked from the game with a concussion late in the first half. And in the second half, the Steelers defense completed its statement with an exclamation point. Steelers handed the Bills their first shutout defeat since 1985 and were nearly flawless in their most impressive victory in years.
Knockout. Fashion way. We earn it.
The Steelers certainly earned respect around the league as they head into a showdown with the Broncos.
Good luck to you the rest of the way.
Over now, Ferd. I'm going to tell you something. Instead of enjoying it for 24 hours, I'm only going to tell you this. It's a Monday night game. Enjoy it tonight. Just tonight. Because tomorrow, we got to get ready to go to Denver to continue this thing that we have started. Hell of a job, hell of an effort. Take care of your body. See you later.
That was a butt whooping for 2 years. You know, we owed them that. You know, we owed them that. They were the ones who stopped us from being in the Super Bowl. That should have been us last year. So we owed them that. But chances are, I got a feeling we're going to see them again down the road. Hey, we're gonna bask in this here for a little while, and it's done. Denver's on our mind now.
Ahead, Warren Moon with our player diary. And our Where Are They Now, L.C. Greenwood, part of the impenetrable Steel Curtain.
L.C. Greenwood, part of the defense that led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl championships. The current Steelers are hoping defense will propel them to a 5th Super Bowl win. They're got a big test this week, Nick, when they travel to Mile High Stadium to take on the Denver Broncos.
Well, if I'm Daniel Webster and I want to define what defense is in my dictionary, I want to model it after Pittsburgh's. I'm going to say it's punishing, aggressive, and intimidating. And 3 young guys, Lenny, who have really sparked that defense are inside linebackers, Levon Kirkland, Chad Brown, and a guy who's really come out of nowhere, nose tackle Joel Steed. It's because of their play that the Pittsburgh defense is #1 against the run and #1 in total defense in the NFL.
Yeah, but they're going to be facing one of the hottest quarterbacks in all the National Football League in John Elway, who has really been reborn under new offensive coordinator Jim Fassel. Fassel has sold Elway on the virtue of the short ball control type passing game, and Elway has responded with one of his best years. Last year he threw 17 interceptions. So far this year, just 6 to go along with 17 touchdown passes. The fact that he hasn't played behind a healthy offensive line this entire year, I think John Elway is having an MVP-type season.
Oh, good news for John Elway, but the bad news for the Broncos is their defense. You know that they've given up plays of 30 yards or more 14 times. Their pass defense is ranked dead last, and you know what they're going to try to do against that running game of Pittsburgh. We've said it before, bring those safeties up to stop the run, then they're going to be play action passes to people like tight end Eric Green. Who do you like in this game?
Well, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win because the mystique at Mile High Stadium is pretty well gone. The Steelers are going to pin loss #3 on them.
I think John Elway should bring his light shoes because that Pittsburgh defense will shut the running game down and they'll be chasing John all over that field. I like Pittsburgh. They're playing as well. No, they're playing better than anybody in the AFC right now.
Well, John Elway has performed a lot of magic tricks at Mile High Stadium. But this week, when he goes into his bag of tricks, he is going to find the likes of Woodson, Green, and Greg Lloyd. And I'll tell you, that's bad news for Denver.
You're talking about defense, are you not? Indeed, they've got it. You know, it's been a while since the Steelers had the kind of punishing defense, but we all remember the way it was. Days when Pittsburgh's defensive line was manned by the fearsome L.C. Greenwood. He's the subject of this week's Where Are They Now?
He was a member of the most feared defense in football. The impenetrable, unyielding force field known as the Steel Curtain, a swarming guerrilla operation that was absolutely impervious to penetration, a defense that brutalized its way to 4 Super Bowl championships. They were tough, unforgiving, and intimidating, like the steel town they came from. They were the meanest front 4 in football. Mad Dog Dwight White, Mean Joe Green, Arrowhead Ernie Holmes, and the lean and limber L.C. Greenwood, the man with the gold shoes. But with football behind him, another side of L.C. Greenwood comes to light.
Today, I don't want to talk to you about football. You see, there are junior and senior high school kids out there who are messing up and need our help bad. Hi, I'm L.C. Greenwood. I want to tell you about a place I've found called Teen Challenge, a place which gives hurting kids the break they need.
L.C. Greenwood doesn't let a day go by that's not a productive one.
How many teachers do you have?
The once feared defensive end may be more productive today than he was as a superstar athlete. There are no more cheering crowds, but on this day, a simple visit to a Spartan boys' home outside of Wheeling, West Virginia, has stirred a few lives.
Well, I never saw a professional athlete when I was small. I never, being from where I am, there were no professional athletes. As a matter of fact, I am the first one that came out of my community, and I started thinking this must be kind of special to them because they feel comfortable enough that they could ask the question that they wanted to ask, and they did ask the question, and I think it was good for them.
Big-time sports athletes are role models to the youth of this country, a fact that doesn't escape Greenwood. His life experiences on and off the field can become rules for younger people to live by.
There is always pressure of drugs and alcohol, but I think you got to decide within yourself what you want to do, or you got to decide, because all these things are attractive to you, because, if you want to be in the, groovy, as they say, you don't have to do these things because everybody else, because it's fashionable, all your friends are doing it. I always think and feel that the strong-minded person only do the things that he wants to do or the things that he can control.
In the small blue-collar town of Carnegie, just east of the city, L.C. runs an electric supply and construction business out of a modest warehouse. Wood is not interested in keeping the bad boy Steeler image alive. Some say image is everything, but for L.C., image is nothing.
I give my time because I enjoy doing it. I owe the community part of L.C. because I live and work in the community.
L.C. Greenwood, he had that aura of invincibility. But in this week's Player Diary, Warren Moon argues that everyone, even people such as L.C., need a little TLC, tender, loving care.
Yogi Berra once said, baseball is 90% mental and the other half physical. Well, while I don't agree with Yogi's mathematics, his intent was dead on. In football, your state of mind is crucial, and confidence in yourself, teammates, and coaches, and the system you work within play a key role in one's performance. Take Bernie Kosar, for example. After receiving a vote of confidence from Cowboy coach Jimmy Johnson, suddenly his reportedly diminishing skills and arm strength returned to their former levels. Boomer Esiason, written off in Cincinnati, is handed a starting job in New York, and he too is given a new lease on life. One of my teammates, Gary Brown, got his first start in the NFL. He got out of the blocks quickly, and you could see the confidence in him and the offensive line grow. In the huddle, you could see it in his eyes, you could see it in his stride as he attacked the defense with a vengeance. As tough as football players' bodies are, their psyches are equally as vulnerable. Positive feedback and reinforcement are just as important as the hundreds of reps we do in practice. Just look at the Oilers. Same players, same coaches, same system. The difference now, a mental state of mind that matches their physical abilities.
I see a smiling and happy Warren Moon. It's amazing what a few victories will do to your disposition. It wasn't too long ago, didn't his diary contain something about people saying things about him in the stands affecting his family?
Yeah, but it's amazing, Lane, with $4 million a year, how happy that can make you.
I can understand. You know what would make me happy, Mr. Bonacani? The pick segment. I would like to beat you badly.
Well, let's see if you did. Oh, you did not.
Last week, it's close, just one game separating now for the season. That's what it is.
Oh, insurmountable lead.
All right, Nick is up there, ladies and gentlemen, by a thread. All right, earlier in the show, we picked several games. Now it's time to pick the rest of them, starting with the ones that we agree on. Dallas will win their 8th straight, beating Atlanta. Buffalo will rebound, hand the Colts their 5th loss in a row. Miami will use my old pal, 39-year young Steve DeBerg, and beat New England. The Giants will hand the Eagles their 6th consecutive loss. The Vikings will knock off Tampa Bay, which has lost 7 games, all by at least 15 points. Now, for the rest of the games in more detail, Chicago playing at Kansas City. Nick Bonacani, how is this going to go?
Well, we know Chicago has a defense, but where is their offense? And going against Kansas City's defense, no way when Kansas City's at home.
Tim Worley is starting to get some playing time for the Chicago Bears, but
yes,
not enough. I like Kansas City at home, too.
I think this year has really proven what a great defensive coach Dave Wannstedt is. Last year in Dallas, the Cowboys had the #1 defense. This year in Chicago, only the Giants and the Bills are given fewer points in Chicago, but no offense. Like Nick says, Kansas City wins this game.
Let's see. Let me refresh my memory. Last week, the Chiefs played the Raiders. We picked who?
I think we've all picked the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we did.
Including you.
And the Samoan godfather, Dan Saliamua, the touchdown running 315-pounder, was unhappy about that. David Craig played very well last week against the Raiders. I look for Kansas City to win that one. Cincinnati playing at the Jets.
Well, the next Bengals win might come when they're the Baltimore Bengals. I'm a little concerned about the boys moving out of town. I like the Jets.
One guy they probably shouldn't let move out of town was Boomer Esiason. You know, the Jets paid a third-round draft choice last year to Cincinnati, and they owe him a #2 next year. If Boomer's quarterback rating is over 89, right now it's at 97. He leads the AFC, but it's well worth the price. Boomer's turned around the Jets. They're red hot. They win this game.
Even if the Bengals don't move, I know one guy who's going to have his house up for sale next year, and that's going to be Harold Green, the running back. No, so I'm going to take the Jets.
Let's talk about this Cincinnati team. Could they possibly go 0-16?
Very well.
Absolutely.
Yes, the Boomer, man, he is being protected. Nobody is getting to him. I like the Jets. All right, we've got Houston at Cleveland.
Well, right now I think you really have to question Bill Belichick's decision to cut Bernie Kosar last week. Todd Philcox, his first start of the year, he had 4 turnovers. I think it's real interesting this week at Cleveland Stadium how many Bernie Kosar Cowboy jerseys show up in the dog pound to watch the Oilers beat the Browns.
The dog pound are going to be throwing Todd Philcox the dog bones from there. I think that, who said last week that he was going to stand tall and do well? I mean,
yes, I remember.
That
was you. Somebody who used to play with
Yes,
him.
that's right. Anyway.
He's too young for me.
I like Houston.
I have no recollection of saying that whatsoever, but the dog pound could get ugly. Some of those guys have a strong arm. They could hit batteries and dog biscuits. Be aiming at Belichick this week. I like Houston.
It's interesting that it was Houston that everybody was talking about in the coaching staff, internal problems. Now it's Cleveland. I like Houston as well. Los Angeles Raiders at San Diego.
Well, San Diego last week upset by the Chicago Bears. I consider that an upset. The Raiders, I don't know, that's a team that goes up and down, you know, just like the temperature, but I think this is the upset. They go to San Diego and win.
I'll take Leslie O'Neal and Junior Seau. They didn't play all that well last week. I think they bounced back. I like the Chargers.
Last time these teams played, Jeff Hostetler threw for 424 yards, and the Raiders still lost. A little quarterback controversy in San Diego this week, but Bobby Ross is sticking with John Freeze. I think the Chargers will win this game.
Well, the Raiders are a good football team, but somehow in the second half they fall in the tank. I don't think it'll happen this way. I like the Los Angeles Raiders over San Diego. Washington at the Rams.
I guess the big question is, who cares with this football game? But the Rams last week were having so many problems against the blitzing Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they work on it this week. I don't know. I'll take the Rams.
I mean, how do you figure the Rams getting shut out by the Falcons, a team that was giving up 4 touchdowns a game? I saw the Redskins play against the Giants last week. This is not the same team that we've seen the last few years. Still, I think they can go out there and beat the Rams.
You know, it's interesting. Mark Rippon's going on a bench. Gannon's going to play quarterback. They have no offensive line, and yet they're still blaming the quarterback with the Washington Redskins. The Rams, to me, they're going nowhere anyway, but I'm going to take the Redskins.
You know, Chuck Knox has lost 5 in a row. That's the first time in his career of 20-some years. T.J. Rubley, what about him for Jim Everett? They have all kind of quarterbacks. I like Washington for some reason, or no reason at all. Well, that's our show for this week. Remember, Inside the NFL premieres each Thursday evening at 11 p.m. If you missed any part of it, you can catch it again Fridays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Those times are Eastern and Pacific. So join us again next week as we take this show on the road to spotlight the first place, Kansas City.